Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Allow me a moment.
No problem.
Having a technical difficulty. Okay. All set. Moses opens Haazinu by bringing heaven and earth to stop and listen to his words. Set to an unknown melody, Moses is calling creation to witness his song. We, all of us, love a good song. A beautiful melody that stirs the soul to its very core and opens up our hearts. In Hebrew, a song is called a shir. A shirot is songs. Not to be confused with mizmor or a psalm. Mizmor is an instrumental music piece, a song or poem set to notes, usually a stringed instrument. Now there are many kinds of songs. There's a love song between a man and a woman, and then there are the rousing battle songs that stir us up. And there are memorable songs of longing. About 20 years ago, there was a beautiful song by a man whose career song was released when he lay upon his hospital bed suffering from a stroke. This man had the most beautiful memories of his father, who had died when he was just 7 years old. A few years later, after his stroke, the man passed away, but not before his career song became a hit on American R&B and Billboard charts, but it also charted in the UK, Austria, Switzerland, and South Africa. It won a Grammy Award, including Song of the Year and Best Performance by a Vocalist. This song is an emotional ballad for all of us who have lost someone. Now, I will spare you my singing voice, because I don't want to blow out your speakers or give you hard of hearing, but I'll try to give you the first stanza of the song. Back when I was a child, before life removed all the innocence, my father would lift me high and dance with my mother and me, and then spin me around till I fell asleep. Then up the stairs he would carry me, and I knew for sure I was loved. It's a beautiful, timeless ballad, a love note to both family and God, two things that seem to be under attack today. A broken-hearted boy asking God for a favor for his mother. Our Heavenly Father, who listens to the voices of trillions and trillions of angels, has also left us many love ballads to encourage our hearts, and when everything seems just too harsh or wrong or impossible. In fact, hear this, the Holy Scriptures are a staggering 1/3 songs. Let me repeat that. Our Holy Scriptures are approximately 1/3 songs. But there are certain songs which stand out from all the others. These are very special songs because each one represents a time when Adonai stepped in and gave his people, his chosen people, the victory against all odds. These special shirot are 10 prophetic songs in the Holy Scriptures. Now there are far more psalms in the Scriptures, but only 2 of these shirot are in the book of Psalms. That means you have to read, folks. The rest are written into the narrative of the Scriptures. We covered 2 of these shirot in our weekly Bible study. In Judaism, there are 9 great songs in the Tanakh, and 1 is left unfulfilled. It is waiting to be fulfilled. Let's go over the list. So the first song is Mizmor Shir Layam Hashabos, attributed to Adam, and is about the Shabbat. The song was transmitted orally for generations, and David puts it to music in Psalm 92. If you don't have a pen and paper ready, You should get one while I'm speaking, because I'm going to give you a few scriptures. I want you to get the full impact of this message. David puts it to music in Psalm 92. It is sang in some houses of worship every Shabbat. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, how could a song written by Adam survive so long? Think about this. Adam lived 930 years and was around in the days of Enoch, Methuselah, and Lamech, who was the father of Noah. Everyone up to the days of Noah and the flood knew who Adam was, and many of them likely knew where he lived. The second Shirah is Shirot Hayam, or as we call it, the Song of the Sea. Exodus 14:30 through 15. The Song of the Sea is Exodus 14:30 through 15. The third song is Shirah Habe'er, and we call it the Song of the Well. That's Numbers 21:16 through 18. The third song is Numbers 21:16 through 18. The fourth song is the one we're examining this week, Haazinu. The fifth song is Shirah Hagivon, when Joshua fought the Canaanites all day and cried out to Adonai to hold the sun still until the battle was won. The sixth song is the Song of Devorah. The seventh song is the Song of Hannah. It is said we derived Avinu Malkeinu from the heartfelt song of praise, from this heartfelt song of praise to Adonai. The eighth song is Shirat David. It has the distinction of being the only song mentioned twice, both in 2 Samuel 22 and Psalm 18. The ninth song is Shir HaSharim, or the Song of Songs, written by Solomon, and it explores the love between a man and a woman. As a matter of fact, it is this love that Yeshua has for his bride, those who hear and respond to his voice. The 10th song, as I mentioned in Judaism, remains unwritten. It's called the Song of Mashiach, or the Song of the Messiah. There's a placeholder or a reference to the song in Isaiah 26. And I'm going to read you a couple of verses from there so that you get the context of this beautiful psalm, which is yet unwritten. On that day, verse 1 reads, "This song will be sung in the land of Yehuda." We know it as the land of Israel today. "We have a strong city. He has built walls and ramparts for our safety. Open the gates. Let the righteous nation enter, a nation that keeps faith." Further on, "Trust in Adonai forever, because in Yah Adonai is a rock of ages." And further in verse 19, "Your dead will live, my corpses will rise. Awake and sing, you who dwell in the dust, for your dew is like the morning dew, and the earth will bring the ghosts to life." Isaiah 26:19. Now we are a part of that enlarged nation spoken of in Isaiah, grafted on the root of Jesse, trusting in Yah Adonai, a rock of ages. Today on this Shabbat, before the Feast of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles to some, we honor the fourth song, Parashat Haazinu, or the reading of listening, if you translate that in English. If we had a Sefer Torah in front of us, when we open to this song in the scriptures, we would notice something unusual about this song. It's divided into distinct columns. A short phrase on one side and a short phrase on the other side. There's a column of space between the two phrases. The rock Yah Adonai is the persistent, steady theme in the Psalms. Because the Father sent Yeshua, we know that the Rock of Ages, that rock which will crush the nations of earth and grow into an eternal kingdom, is Ben Elohim, the Mashiach of the 10th Psalm of great prophetic songs. But before we get to that last psalm, I want to give you some scriptural references. Remember I said keep your pens ready, your pens and paper ready? Okay, I'm going to give you a list. Hope you got your papers ready. So, we said that the rock is a persistent theme throughout the Psalms. And that's very true. But I want you to realize that this psalm is also an inspiration to David through most of his psalms. A number of the psalms have the exact imagery in the Song of Moses. Just to name a few. Psalm 103, verse 15. Psalm 72, verse 6. Psalm 105, 1. 145, 1 through 5. Psalm 18, 2. Psalm 61, 2. And Psalm 62. All of those psalms have the imagery and the inspiration from the Song of Moses. So you can see, the rock really is a persistent theme throughout most of the Psalms. Among Bible scholars, the Song of Moses is highly controversial because they don't believe Moses wrote it, and some even doubt that Moses and Joshua sang it. Now that might come as a surprise to some of you, but it was Moses and Joshua who sang the psalm. Those who did the reading this week know this. When they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Quorum Caves, they looked at Deuteronomy 32. And they found small references that were different from the version that we have today, which was made by the Masoretes. Most of the versions of Hebrew that we have were made by the Masoretes in the current time period, or shall I say, in the modern era. And when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, one moment, like I said, I'm having some technical difficulties, but I can overcome that. When they analyzed the Dead Sea Scrolls, and in particular Deuteronomy 32, they noticed there were slight differences in the wording. And I want to, at this time, help you by restoring some of the feel of the original. For the sake of time, though, we can't go through the Song of Moses line by line. But I'll examine two verses. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8 and 43. In verse 8, when God divided the nations at the Tower of Babel, the sons of Israel did not exist. Abraham was not yet born. Noah and Shem were still alive. So if you are reading the scriptures in verse 8, and you run across the phrase, the sons of Israel, you'll realize that that was kind of a modification added in the current time period. Let me give you a different rendering of that particular verse. Like I said, this particular song is broken up by two sides, one on the left, one on the right. The current Masoretic version uses the phrase, the sons of Israel. But the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are much older than many of our current Hebrew translations, because they were made in the 3rd century BCE, before the time of Christ, before Yeshua, they use the phrase sons of God, like the sons of God used in Genesis 6. Now, I did some further research and I found that some versions accurately include the sons of God at the end of verse 8. At the end of verse 8. Let me read it to you. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided humanity, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of Israel. That's in the Masoretic text. In the Dead Sea Scrolls it reads, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided humanity, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. A slight difference, but an important one. And you'll see as we go through and restore verse 43 back to the way it should have been, or the way it should be in the current versions. Now, the problem here is that the rabbis in the time of Yeshua had a problem. Some rabbis, not all. Some rabbis had a problem with the phrase sons of God. Now you can imagine Yeshua calling himself the Son of God, that would have caused a problem. So what they did is they made some slight modifications to the Masoretes made slight modifications to our current versions of the Psalms, of the Tanakh. The one thing they did not do is change Psalm 82. And Psalm 82 agrees with what Yeshua said when he was challenged by the rabbis who disagreed with him on the phrase sons of God. Psalm 82 verse 6 reads, my decree is, you are Elohim, sons of the Most High, all of you. Some of your versions will show that right after the word Elohim is a phrase in parentheses, God's judges, to try and tone it down and not focus on the Most High, the sons of the Most High. But the decree is, you are Elohim, plural, sons of the Most High, all of you. That's Psalm 82:6. Now here's the problem. Yeshua had no problem using the term sons of God. In fact, he uses the phrase sons of God in a number of verses. The most memorable is probably Matthew 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Then Luke 6:35. And you will be sons of the Most High, for he himself is kind to ungrateful and evil men. Then there's Luke 20, verse 34 through 36. John 1:12 through 13. John 11:52. And not for the nation only, but in order that he might also gather together into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. And then, to help you to research this, to plant the sons of God more firmly in your mind, I'm going to give you verses that explain exactly who the sons of God are. I couldn't give them all to you, but I picked a broad selection. Romans 8:14, and again in verse 16, verse 19, and verse 21. And then Galatians 3:26, Philippians 2:15, and 1 John, the phrase is all over. 1 John 3, all the way through. 1 John 3, all the way through verse 5. Let me reread that to you. That's 1 John 3, chapter 3, all the way through chapter 5. So, as I mentioned before, The Song of Moses is written in those two distinctive columns that you won't see anywhere else in the Torah, the Sefer Torah, which will roll back coming up at the end of this holy day, this holy week. You'll see, if you were to look at it today, a phrase on the right and a phrase on the left. Together, those two phrases equal one complete thought. The reason is that some of the people, the biblical scholars, don't want to believe that Moses wrote this is because it's filled with parallelisms and allegory through the entire song. Now let's take a closer look at verse 43, because there were changes that were made that affect the symmetry of the two verses, the two sections. To make this easier in your mind, I'm going to divide Devarim 32:43, Devarim 32 verse 43, and I'm going to restore it to its original pairings as they appear in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So first, a disclaimer. Some of your translations will not have all the phrases that I use. They won't show columns like in the Sefer Torah. By the way, it seems strange to our Western eyes, but it's there, written in the Torah. So I'll call the first pair on the right, 1A, and the other half, 1B. And we'll use that format all the way through the rest of this verse. So let's do it. In the Masoretic text, O nations, acclaim his people. 1A. 1B is missing. 2A. For he will avenge the blood of his servants. 2B. He will exact vengeance on his adversaries. 3A is missing. And then 3B. And make atonement for his land and his people. So now let's read it as it's written in the Masoretic text, translated directly into English. O nations, acclaim his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants. He will exact vengeance on his adversaries and make atonement for his land, his people. Now, let's read it in a more ancient version, the Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved by the Essenes in the time of Yeshua. 1A. Rejoice, O heavenly ones, with him. 1B. Bow down, all you gods, before him. 2A. For he will avenge the blood of his sons. 2B. He will exact vengeance on his adversaries. 3A. He will repay those who hate him. And 3B. Make atonement for his people's land. Just to make sure that we both, all of us, understand what's happening here. Rejoice, O heavenly ones, with him. O heavenly ones was changed to the word nations. 1B was completely dropped. That's the phrase that says, bow down, all you gods, before him. 2, verse 2 was left intact, except for he will avenge the blood of his sons, not the word servants. And then 3, the third section of verse 43, he will repay those who hate him, is completely removed in the Masoretic version, and make atonement for his people's land, which we know is Israel. When we restore the pairs in this one verse, we have a much more powerful promise of the rock redeeming his sons and daughters, repaying those who hate him, and complete atonement for the land of promise. Now you can imagine how that sounds to those who want to believe that Yeshua was not the Son of God. It was necessary that they had to make those changes. It's clear to us, it's clear to me, that the complete Song of Moses will one day be fully restored in song form and sang in the heavenly places. How do I know that? Because Revelation 15:2. You can turn there if you'd like to. I saw what looked like a sea of glass mixed with fire. Those defeating the beast, its image, and the number of its name, were standing by the sea of glass, holding harps which God had given them. They were singing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Great and wonderful are the things you have done, Adonai, God of heaven's armies. Just and true are your ways, King of the nations. Adonai, who will not fear and glorify your name. Let me reread that. Adonai, who will not fear and glorify your name, because you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous deeds have been revealed. That's Revelation 15, verses 2 through 4. In the day of the Lord, the song of Moses will be restored, and the song of the Mashiach will be given, and the 10 prophetic songs of Adonai will be complete. Israel, a land once filled with the blood of the prophets, and the sons and daughters of Adonai will be recreated like a new Eden, with the river of life which will pour out into the Dead Sea, and from there become a raging river spilling into the ocean. And the Dead Sea will no longer be filled with salt, but teeming with life. That's in Ezekiel 47. So as we approach this new celebration, this new harvest, I wanted to make sure that we understood that the Song of Moses will be restored fully, completely, because that song will be given to those who will rise up and be in the heavens and given harps. It will be given spontaneously to all of them. Some of us, our Rabbi Ben, and many others who have gone before, who hold fast to the faith of Yeshua, keeping the commandments and believing. So let us celebrate this feast with great joy, knowing that one day we will all sing before our Father the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb. 2 songs restored and given to each one of us in our hearts by our Father. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Hashem.